Hello, everyone, and thanks, Thomas. Welcome to Hitch Required, how Omnichannel and email marketing work together. So my name is Chad White. I'm the head of research at Oracle Marketing Consulting. We are a global full-service digital marketing agency of about 500 consultants inside of Oracle. I'm also the author of the book Email Marketing Rules, now in its third edition, and of more than 3,000 blog posts and articles about email and digital marketing. I'm also the ANA's 2018 Email Marketer Thought Leader of the Year. So let's start off by asking a really big question. What makes a great email marketer? And I think to answer this question, we have to look at what I consider the 4 pillars of email marketing and the skills and the disciplines that fall underneath each of those pillars that you need on an email marketing team to be successful, fully recognizing that your email team might just be you. So first of all, you need to understand email creative. That's our first pillar. You need to understand things like copywriting, which includes understanding how to be persuasive, understanding how to align your copy with business objectives, and so on. You also need to understand design. And certainly in email marketing, it means understanding channel limitations and channel capabilities, because you always want to make sure you keep those firmly in mind when designing. Also need to understand a little bit of something about coding. I know that there's a big de-emphasis of coding nowadays, but certainly understanding some basics is certainly important. Understanding how to use personalization, perhaps interactivity, and certainly with everything in email, understanding how fallbacks work. Also need to understand landing pages, because for the most part, emails are just gateways to landing pages. So understanding that relationship between emails and landing pages is really critical, because the landing page is where most of the business is going to happen. That's where most of the success happens. It's that critical last mile to that interaction. So I believe that you can't really master one discipline of email creative without having a healthy appreciation of the others. One of my sort of personal pet peeves is designers who don't understand that their job is to enhance the effectiveness of the copy that they've been given. That is really their job. And if they can't do that, then really they're just artists, which I guess is fine. But in email marketing, we don't need artists. We need designers. We need designers who understand how to make copy work harder, work smarter, work better. We also need designers who understand, how coding works, the sort of the basics of like the limitations that they have. They need to understand that they can't use graphical text. They need to use HTML text as much as possible, and understand that they are really this baton pass away from a landing page. So you really need to understand all of the facets, all the disciplines within a pillar to be really good at any of these core jobs. All right. The second pillar is your marketing platform. And here you need to understand how to create a campaign in your system. You need to understand how to select an audience and to create segmentation filters. You need to understand how to deploy and schedule campaigns. You need to understand how to set up an automated campaign, which is certainly much more involved. And you need to understand the basic reporting that you get from your marketing platform, including the limitations of those reports. The third pillar is email marketing strategy. And here there's quite a bit of complexity, but you need to understand things like building your lists, including acquisition source safeguards and optimization. So you're attracting safely the right kinds of subscribers and not attracting really low quality subscribers. You need to understand the basics of deliverability, including remediations when things go wrong, and understanding permissioning and re-permissioning. You need to understand things like frequency optimization, which includes things like segmentation and inactivity management, but also things like RFM modeling, perhaps, and fatigue analysis. Understand lifecycle messaging, including the incredible array of various triggered and transactional messages. We recently published a list of over 110 different triggered and transactional messages that we could come up with, and there's certainly many more. Understanding personalization, including of text and images and modules, and understand analytics, which is really looking past the data that's in your performance reports and finding the insights that are really buried behind and inside of that data. And then our fourth pillar is omni-channel synergies. Today, email marketing doesn't work in a silo anymore. It's really fully integrated, or on its way to being fully integrated into the greater sort of digital marketing ecosystem. I know that it varies from organization to organization, but certainly I feel it's like the future is omni-channel, and email marketers need to understand their place within omni-channel. So for instance, need to understand things like how the channels cross-pollinate each other, building each other up in terms of subscriber bases. Need to understand how to share campaign insights across channels so that all the channels can benefit from each other. Need to understand how one channel can be a test bed for another. Need to understand how to gain, how you can gain customer insights that can be used across various channels. Need to understand how to coordinate campaigns across all the channels that you have at your disposal. And then lastly, understanding omnichannel orchestration. So these are the 4 pillars, and I would argue that you can't master any one pillar of email marketing without having a healthy appreciation of the others. Just like you can't, master a pillar without understanding all the disciplines within that pillar. So today, we're going to talk about that 4th pillar of email marketing, which I consider sort of the newest, that omnichannel synergies pillar. That's the one I feel like as an industry we need to improve on the most. And so we're going to talk about that and the 6 disciplines that are a part of that pillar. So let's get to it. So the first one is cross-channel pollination. So the truth is that customers are significantly more valuable, significantly more engaged, and significantly more loyal when they interact with your brand through multiple channels. So you really need to use your channels to encourage those cross-channel opt-ins, including, of course, for email. So you want to create more of those brand connections, and so you can get subscribers engaging with you across additional channels, whatever it might be. Email, SMS, direct mail, mobile push, social media, and on and on. You want people to be engaging with you through multiple channels. However, you have to give them a reason to do so. If all of your channels are sort of pitching the same value proposition, that's a problem. First of all, it shouldn't be that way because channels are all different. The expectations are different. The capabilities are different. So you really need to be selling people on what's different about these channels. So for instance, cadence. How frequently are you going to message them in a given channel? Certainly in the email marketing channel, your cadence should be quite a bit higher than your SMS cadence is, or the reverse, that your SMS cadence should be significantly lower than your email cadence, for instance. But there's definitely different frequency tolerances per channel. You need to be aware of those and be transparent about it. Also, what's the voice that you have for each of your channels? Is it a company voice, the voice of influencers, the voice of community members? Certainly the voice of your social media outlets should be quite a bit different than the voice for your emails generally. Certainly if it's like a very casual social media channel like TikTok, that's going to be very casual compared to something like email or SMS, which would be significantly more formal in comparison. Also, what kind of content are you going to send? That content is also going to be different from channel to channel. And are you going to have any exclusives? I hope that you do. I hope there's special content they can only really get via your social media channel, via your email channel, via your SMS channel. It should be different. You should have some really special stuff that they can only get via that channel. Let's talk about the second discipline, which is sharing campaign insights. So when a digital marketing campaign performs really well, marketers should be letting other people know about that so that your other channel operators can leverage those findings. And having sort of regular cross-channel marketing meetings can really help facilitate that sharing. It should be a dedicated part of those meetings that's all about, what have you been seeing? What can we share? So for instance, email marketers absolutely know about the most popular site search terms, especially going into things like the holiday season. That's incredibly valuable information to have that can inform your email marketing campaigns. Understanding or knowing about the most clicked paid search campaigns, that's super valuable. knowing about the most effective SMS campaigns. What was that copy? What was the call to action? That can inform your email marketing campaigns too. The most liked and shared social media posts across your different platforms. Generally speaking, that can be useful to know like what people are talking about and interested in, but certainly in the case of email, you can directly use that social media content as email marketing content to support your campaign messaging. And then lastly, knowing what the best converting landing page is. You want to know about that because certainly email can funnel more traffic to those high performing landing pages. So you're going to want to know about that too. Now, of course, it's a two-way street. Email marketers should also be telling others about their most successful subject lines and preview text combinations. Should be telling them about their most click calls to action, as well as the body copy that was associated with those CTAs, because they certainly go hand in hand. What are the best subscriber segments that you have in terms of either revenue generation or social sharing or other kinds of behaviors? That can also be really informative for other channels in terms of who they might want to try to talk to or target. And then any really interesting A/B testing results. You're going to want to share those out with your other team members across your other digital marketing channels. The third discipline is all about test beds. So what we just talked about was about incidental campaign insights and how those should be shared. We did this thing, we saw good results, let's talk about it. Now, intentional campaign insights are something else entirely. This is intentionally trying to test something in one channel so that you can use it in another channel. And in general, you want to use your faster, more measurable channels to inform campaigns and your slower, less measurable ones. I'd also add that probably want to use your cheaper channels to also inform the messaging and your more expensive channels, right? You want to try things out in a cheaper environment and a faster environment to use it in slower, more expensive environments. So for instance, you might use your email campaigns to test direct mail copy and catalog components such as cover images, product images, and headlines. Over my many years in the industry, I've seen a lot of apparel companies using their email to do just that, testing covers, even polling, not just doing an A/B test, but polling their subscribers, hey, which cover do you like better? And then also using things like paid search, SMS, and mobile push campaigns to test subject lines and CTAs for email campaigns. And again, here, the big difference is intention, right? We have a big email campaign coming up. We want to know what's going to help that campaign perform the best. So let's be very intentional and test certain messaging in paid search, in SMS, in mobile push, and then we'll know which direction to lean for our email content. And as I mentioned before, with sort of the more expensive media, using things like email campaigns to test offers that you might then turn around and use in like a radio advertising campaign where it's really hard to get feedback on which one is doing better. So, using highly measurable channels like email for less measurable ones, like TV and radio, to get certain aspects of those ads correct, or more likely to be correct. All right, let's talk about the fourth discipline, which is gaining customer insights. Here there's a lot of changes happening, with third-party cookies sunsetting and privacy laws absolutely getting stronger and privacy features getting stronger. And certainly there's zero sign that that is going to backtrack in any way. Getting reliable customer insights in this environment is more important than ever. And email marketing can be an absolute key source of those kinds of customer insights that you can use, not just in email, but across other channels as well. So for instance, you can use email to collect zero-party data via sign-up forms across your various audience acquisition sources. You can use your onboarding to collect zero-party data. It's certainly on that sign-up confirmation page. That's a great place. If someone has just signed up and you're confirming that they signed up, that's a great place to ask for additional information. Of course, in your welcome email or your welcome email series, those are also a great place to get additional information so you can get a good foundation to get some personalization and segmentation going early. Your preference centers, which might be part of that onboarding process. That's a great place to get, again, like a good foundation. Might also be periodically, prompting your subscribers to update their preferences in your preference center. And of course, a lot of brands use their preference center as their unsubscribe page, which is super smart because it can give you a chance to kind of save someone who was thinking about opting out. But if they see that they have options that could make that experience better for them, they might choose that and then they'd stay. And then you can also collect zero-party data via long-term progressive profiling and short-term progressive profiling. So long-term progressive profiling is very much in the same vein as the types of questions you ask in a preference center. These are answers that tend to be good for years. So asking someone what their preferred store is, for instance, or what their zip code is. People don't tend to move around that frequently. So that information is going to tend to be good for quite a long period of time. Now, short-term progressive profiling efforts, the answers to those questions tend to only be good for weeks, maybe months. So a great example there would be, asking your subscribers, what are their summer travel plans? What kind of destinations are they looking at, or activities are they looking at? Or asking folks, hey, what sort of product categories are you interested in buying for gifts this holiday season? The answers to those questions are going to change from year to year, season to season. So you need to keep asking them, but the answers are highly valuable for a period of time. But with all of these examples, you are asking explicit questions, and your subscribers and your customers are giving you, explicit answers to those questions. So that's what makes it zero-party data. Now, in contrast, first-party data is us observing behavior and making assumptions about what those behaviors mean. So, for instance, we can collect first-party data, by looking at the emails that are opened, if and only if we're using descriptive envelope content. So if we have an email that has a very clear subject and we're making that clear in the envelope content, when somebody opens that, you can assume that that is a topic that they are interested in, or at least have a little bit of interest in. Which calls to action they click on, the same kind of thing. And also, what subscribers, of course, do post-click in terms of the content, the products, services that they browse, what they watch, what they interact with, what they put in their cart, what they purchase. All of that, to a varying degree, is a weak to a strong indicator of something, of an interest that they have that you can then tap into with future messages. And those are all fantastic insights to not only use within email, but to use in other channels as well. And you can use that for personalizing, and segmenting and automating your emails, but you can also use that in all of your other channels. And again, this is becoming increasingly important, as third-party cookies sunset and privacy laws and features get stronger and stronger. All right, so our fifth discipline is campaign coordination. So there's an old rule of 7, which was created, I think, in the 1930s. It was related to radio ads, and the idea was that a consumer had to be exposed to a message around 7 times before they were likely to act. Now, the good news is that we have lots more channels to interact with consumers with today than we had back then, and obviously the number of interactions, the number of exposures that you need varies from brand to brand, message to message, but the gist of this rule is definitely in effect today. We don't tend to send, one message, they see one thing, and our customer reacts to that. They tend to have to see things several times before they take action. So you need to coordinate, the timing and the content of your messages across all of your channels to help kind of create this critical mass of exposure, kind of, nudging folks along, towards taking action. So, for example, if you were launching a new apparel collection, you could do a variety of things. You could feature it on your homepage, along with perhaps like a runway video. You could send a catalog with the collection featured on the cover and, of course, throughout. You could post on social, perhaps sharing what select influencers, what their favorite looks were from the collection. You could send an SMS message that was timed with the arrival of the catalog saying, hey, look in your mailbox, but then also linking to your homepage so they could see that runway video, and sending a variety of email campaigns that might promote things like the best-selling look so far from that collection. So all of these activities are all around that one theme of that new collection, but they come at it from all these different angles with different kinds of content and different kinds of messaging angles to all support each other. So that's what we're really kind of looking to create nowadays. Now, our sixth and final discipline is omnichannel orchestration. Now, we talked about coordination, and that's really just message themes that are scheduled to reinforce each other. Orchestration is quite a bit of a step beyond that. It's using that omni-channel data and messaging dynamically. So, and there are really 4 aspects to omni-channel orchestration. So let's talk about those. So the first is using omni-channel data to personalize email and your other digital marketing campaigns. Second is using that omni-channel data for segmentation purposes across all your digital marketing campaigns, using your omni-channel data to trigger various digital marketing messages. And then the last one is using the best channel for a particular message. And it might be based on recency. So what's the channel that they most recently interacted with? So for this particular message, because it's special, I want to make sure that they see it. So I'm going to send it to that channel they most recently interacted with. Or you could be using a window where you say, all right, which channel have they interacted with the most over the last 3 months or 6 weeks or whatever it might be. And I'll use that to determine what's the best channel to send this particular message to this particular subscriber. So I really want to hammer home this difference between email sophistication and omni-channel sophistication. So, a sophisticated email program would use email engagement data to personalize an email. That's a great thing. I hope you're doing that. Now, when we talk about omni-channel orchestration and omni-channel sophistication, it's using SMS engagement, for instance, to personalize an email. So I send an SMS message, they engage with it, and then I use that as a signal to personalize the next email. And I didn't get that same signal, from my email channel. Email sophistication would be using email inactivity to trigger a re-engagement email to get people re-engaged with the email channel. But the omni-channel version of that is looking at mobile app inactivity and then triggering a re-engagement email for that. So this person has been using their mobile app and they stop for a period of time. So it's been a number of months. I want to get them re-engaged with that mobile app. So I'm going to send them an email that incentivizes them or in some kind of way sort of prods them to use that mobile app again. So it's where is the data coming from and where do you use it? In an omni-channel orchestration world, you want to use signals from across your digital marketing channels and a variety of channels to respond. All right, so let's recap and talk about our 6 omni-channel synergies. There's cross-pollination, so you can build up all of your channels by using other channel messaging, sharing campaign insights across channels, using one channel as a test bed for content in another, gaining customer insights, coordinating your campaigns across channels, and lastly, omni-channel orchestration. So I see these as sort of the 6 pillars to really get good at understanding and executing on omni-channel synergies. Now, I did want to close out here by talking about 2 skills in particular that I think email marketers really need to be successful in the future with how things are changing in the email marketing industry. So the first is that email marketers need to get better at analytics. They need to have a better understanding, a better comfort with analytics, get comfortable in Excel, not be turned off by numbers. And I know that that's a struggle for some email marketers. That's not something that they really love to do. But unfortunately, we really need to get good at analytics, and we need to understand how our work affects campaign performance if you're a copywriter, you need to understand how what you do affects campaign performance. You need to understand how our work affects subscribers, sort of subscriber lifetime value, customer lifetime value. You need to understand how all the things we do kind of build up and create value for the people we are serving. And we need to understand how our work affects the organization, especially the things that they care about, which tends to be things like revenue and retention and various forms of engagement. The second skill is that email marketers need to get better at collaborating. Again, sort of the whole premise here is that things are changing in the email marketing industry, where we are being de-siloed and working a lot more with our fellow digital marketers. And so we need to make sure that we're getting really good at these kind of people skills and working across channels. And that's not always a skill that we've had. A lot of our history has been, hey, we're sitting over in the corner doing our things. Folks tell us we need to send an email about X, so we start to create an email about X, and then we send it out. We've been ticket takers in some respects. But that's not where our future lies. And so we need to learn how to collaborate effectively. We need to make sure that we're communicating our wins and getting credit for the good work that we do. We need to make sure that we are sharing the insights that we are gaining from our audience, because our audience is part of the greater customer base of our brand. And we need to make sure that we're coordinating with those other channels. So there's just a lot more collaborating and sharing and talking in our future that has not always been like a key part of our job. So those are two skills that I see as being really important to our futures as email marketers. And with that, I thank you very much. I would love to connect with you on Twitter or LinkedIn. You can find me at Chad S. White, and I'm certainly very happy to take some questions.
The chat, how did y'all enjoy that presentation? I want to see some love for that one. Chad, let's get you in here, bud. All right, here it comes. Oh yeah, loving those reactions. Y'all, let's see those questions in the Q&A tab. We're about to hit those head on the nail. All right, cool. Here he comes.
Hey, Tom.
What's going on, man?
A lot of good comments in the chat about people trying to mainline your energy. I don't think I'm going to be able to match you, but I'll do my best.
Hey, you do. I've seen your presentations in person and all over the internet, and you do have that energy. So you've got it, my man. Awesome. Well, do you want to say anything before we get into this Q&A?
Let's get into it.
Cool. Shall we? All right. Y'all, let's take a look at some of these questions. And remember, please upvote the ones that are most pertinent to the subject so we can stay on topic here. All right. We've got a ton in here. Let's hit with the most hit question. Looks like, okay. So from Alex asked, are opens still worth tracking after the iOS updates last October?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is such a complicated question, but the short answer is yes. There's going to be a period where all the ESPs are figuring out how best to report on opens. So for instance, here at Oracle, we've made the decision that we filter out auto opens. So you're only seeing just what we're calling sort of like real opens. Mm-hmm. And so this gives you like a true new baseline, but I know that we've just started also reporting auto open, so you can see that. And I know that some ESPs have already started to report sort of like an adjusted open rate, where they're using auto open, so like calibrating that based on market share to kind of get you back to what would be sort of your previous baseline pre-MPP. Mm-hmm. All of these are valuable ways of looking at opens, but they're all different, and the reporting definitely has not sort of settled out yet. But I would absolutely encourage people not to sort of abandon opens. Opens are really useful, and sometimes there's been a lot of sort of talk out there about how opens are a vanity metric, and I think that may be true for e-commerce brands and retail brands, but there are a lot of email marketers who are not e-commerce and retail brands. Lots of B2B marketers, media brands, nonprofits, and for them, engagement, including opens, is really important. And so let's make sure that we're kind of like calibrating our goals appropriately. And even retailers and e-commerce brands send some campaigns where the goal is not to generate revenue. And in those cases, you're going to want to pay attention to opens. So yeah, we're not anywhere near abandoning opens at all. And that's just looking at performance. Deliverability opens are super critical to managing that if you're a large sender. So there's tons more value that still exists in opens.
You heard from the source, folks. There you have it. Also, y'all, later on, we have a panel talking about MPPs. So stay till the end. We're going to come back to that as well. So, all right. Okay, moving on here. Looks like John wanted to know, with the number of bots opening and clicking links and emails, how valuable is it to click through data anymore? Is it merely directional useful, or do people find it truly actionable?
Yeah, so this is sort of similar to the open question. So Skip Fedora, a longtime industry friend of mine, says that metrics don't have to be accurate. They just need to be consistent. And I think for us in the email marketing world, that is something we should absolutely take to heart. Were open rates accurate pre-MPP? Absolutely not. No, there was things that inflated them or things that deflated them. However, over time, those inflation and deflationary pressures created a baseline that gave you insight. So you could compare over time. You could look at that delta from month to month, from campaign to campaign, and it would tell you something. And clicks are the same way. Absolutely, there are click bots out there that inflate the numbers a little bit, but over time, that's fairly consistent behavior, and therefore everything is just sort of inflated, sort of the same amount. So delta is really important. How are things changing more than the absolute values? Let's not get like hung up on accuracy, because a ton of things that we do are not terribly accurate. And it's not just email marketing, it's digital marketing in general. There's all kinds of things that we do constantly that are not very accurate at all, and we don't bat an eye. So let's not get hung up on the fact that opens and clicks aren't 100% accurate. It doesn't really matter. They're consistent, and the delta is really telling and helps us make good decisions.
Gotcha. Okay, moving on here. We've got another one coming in. Do you think certain channels fall into certain areas of the marketing funnel? If so, where in the funnel would you say that email marketing is most effective?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Different channels definitely play harder at different parts of the funnel. Email, I feel like it plays it sort of both kind of throughout the funnel, right? Like, so you think about automated campaigns, those tend to play near the bottom of the funnel, right? Because we're reacting to things that our subscribers and our customers are doing. You think about like a cart abandonment email, that's really bottom of the funnel. However, our broadcasts and even some of our segmented campaigns play pretty high in the funnel, really kind of build awareness, kind of do that initial education. So, email really functions kind of throughout, but other channels definitely have a stronger home base, I would say. Social plays very high, and it's sort of like awareness part of the funnel, so very much up high. SMS kind of spans a little bit like email, but it really it varies. Like direct mail tends to play high, but you could also do some targeting that would help it play low. I know we saw somebody in the chat talking about how direct mail can still do some really cool things. Yeah, don't disrespect direct mail. Today you can do like really quick turnaround print runs, and you can personalize that content. It can be highly segmented. You can funnel, like if you've got a CDP, like if you've got good omnichannel data, you can funnel that kind of information into your direct mail program and do some pretty incredible things. So direct mail definitely has a lot more life in it, and that can be again kind of play throughout that funnel depending on how you're using it.
For sure. Okay, y'all, we've got just a few more for chat here before we gotta get going. I love this one. How do you get people to actually use preference centers?
So, yeah, I know there's there I think we sometimes get a little bit despondent by like the low usage of certain things that we do, and I think that preference centers is one of those. I think the thing that I would encourage people, the lens I would encourage people to use with these things is that it's sort of the 80-20 rule, right? Like, so, not all of your customers are going to opt into email, right? But the ones that do, they are like raising their hands to be more valuable, right? They're like more committed. And then within your pool of email subscribers, some of them are going to take actions that elevate them even further. And preference centers is one of those things where they're raising their hand and they're getting closer to the brand. And so you kind of always expect this sort of narrowing down, right? If you have a loyalty program, it's the same kind of thing. In my mind, I sort of consider a loyalty program to be sort of like that next level of email marketing. So you have fewer people that are opting into that, but it's not the number of people who do it, it's the value of those people we really need to pay attention to. And so things like preference centers kind of play into that smaller number of people, but they're increasing the value and the quality of their engagement with the brand. And that's the lens to use to look at these things. The same thing with progressive profiling, which I talked about. If you send an email saying, hey, what product categories are you most interested in buying gifts in, for folks this holiday season, is everybody going to respond to that? Absolutely not. It's going to be a relatively small number of people, but those small number of people are highly qualified. And if you turn around and you send them the kind of content that they asked for, the conversion rate on that campaign is going to be really high. So it's a high yield, very targeted campaign that is absolutely worth your time and attention in the same way that preference centers are.
There you go, folks. Straight from the source. Awesome. Let's see here. Well, Chad, looks like that's all the time we got today for Q&A. Man, I seriously appreciate you coming by, hanging out with us, getting to hang out for your first email camp. I finally got to meet Chad in person after the pandemic this summer, and it was so awesome. So y'all go out and watch Chad at any of his conferences and give some of his keynotes. You're in for a good time no matter what. Chad, is there anything you want to leave with us before you head out?
No, thanks, Thomas. It's always fun hanging out with you. And I saw that in the chat, giving away some copies of my book. I don't know if there's any copies left, that people are snatching those up. That was fantastic to see. So maybe try to grab the last copies if you haven't done so already. But I'll be hanging out in and out most of the day. So hopefully I'll see folks either on Slack or in the chat.
Heck yeah. And y'all also too, Chad is actually going to be on our podcast, Email's Not Dead, for season 4 coming up very soon. So get ready for that if you want any more of Chad's insights. So, hey, awesome. Well, Chad, man, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope to see you soon in person and on the virtual net. So, but take care, and we hope to see you.
All right. Take care.
All right. See you, Chad.